Hi everybody, I'm Nettie K. Welcome to our Thursday Night Live painting session at Nettie K Studio. I'm so glad that you have chosen to join me tonight. What is a skin tone? Well, it's basically various different reds with various different yellows and a white. That's the warm tones. And it's the cool tones that are really the ones that are a little bit challenging. They are challenging because we sometimes forget to even use them, and then our paintings look like Barbie, and it's not good. We don't want to look artificial. The only way that we can make our paintings look realistic is to have both a warm tone and a cool tone. And so what does that mean? Well, it means that we have things that remind us of sunshine, yellows, reds, oranges, and I think I'm wearing every color of that tonight. But yellows, reds, oranges are the warm tones, and then the cool tones are in purples and blues and greens and gray. Now tonight I've got our little guy, this little guy, he's so cute, he's a little schmoopster. We're going to be painting over our grisaille painting, which just means black and white, dried painting underneath. That's a really good way to do it. Paint it in black and white, and then glaze color over the top. Here's our little painting of our little guy. Isn't he cute? All right, so now I'm going to take a little brush, and I'm going to use some little paper towels to wipe off my brush as we go. And because skin tones are really, we don't have to wash our brush off every time we do anything, but I'll just wipe it off like this, and then we'll have it. Now, these might slide around a little bit, so I want to be a little bit careful and get going here. What colors have I got? Well, I do have a little bit of a black. I have a black down here, small ivory black. This one is a nickel Titan something. Oh, I gotta look at it. It's a nickel yellow, and it's a light, I think. Yes, it's a light nickel yellow. This one would be cadmium red light. I've got a little bit of orange just in case. I have some blue or red, which is the alizarin crimson, which gives us a little more of a regular rosy pink. This one is more of a peachy pink. So we got peachy pink and rosy pink, all right? We should just change the color, the name of the color. But it's cadmium red light and alizarin crimson. Those are the two reds that I'm going to use, all right? There are all kinds of different reds. The main thing is you want one that leans a little more towards the violet or the bluish color red, and one that leans towards the orange a little bit more, which would be our cadmium red or scarlet or that sort of thing. Vermilion is a very warm red. And then up here I have a yellow ochre, and I also have a strange one, which is a phthalo turquoise. What am I going to use that for? Well, we'll just have to wait and see, will we? Yeah, we will. So now, the first thing I want to do is figure out our basic skin, our warm skin tone. And on this baby, we'll just use him for an example. We don't have to follow him exactly. We're going to go with this cadmium. Cadmium red is very, very, very strong. And so I'm going to put a little cadmium, and I don't mix a bunch of colors into that cadmium pile. No. Have you ever seen the artists that have huge piles of paint all the way around the circle, and then they just kind of use it in the middle, and they have a gigantic palette? I have one of those as well, but I don't want to have to lift it. So we generally lay it way out all the way across this table, and it's pretty impressive. Now I'm going to take that, and let's test that out. If I put a little bit of white in there, and I don't mix it all in, ooh, isn't that a beautiful, beautiful pink? It's just a lovely pink, and I hope this registers on our live camera today. And then I'm going to come in, and I'm going to take a little yellow ochre with that, like this, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to take a little bit of our red again, and some yellow ochre, and it kind of just mutes it down a little bit. And And then I'll take some of the white, and I'm going to continue. I might need to get a little bit more here. There we go. Now, a lot of times I use a raw sienna for the darker darks, but today well, I gotta confess, I took it to the classroom and I have no idea where that tube went. So I will use raw sienna a lot in portraits. Raw sienna mixed in with this yellow ochre, but this is gonna work fine. Now, what I want is I want some variations of that color combination. So I'm gonna take that yellow ochre and the cadmium red light, and then I'm going to add another layer. So I'm creating 3 little piles by adding white to it and adding another layer of white, and I might go up about 6 layers of white. I use a lot of white when I'm mixing the palette down. So reiterating, yellow ochre with cadmium red light and white, and add white, and add white, and add white. And that is our wonderful peachy pinky pink, all right, for our baby's face. Now the next color I'm going to do is I'm going to take the yellow ochre, hopefully without any of that mess, and I'm going to come up here and add some clean white to the yellow ochre. Just a little bit here. I'm going to leave some of it out a little bit, and then I'm going to add more white to it. And these are our basic warm, excuse me, basic warm tones for this particular baby painting. Okay. Now, if I want to, I can come in for darker. Well, actually, let's test this out too. This is our little tiny bit of alizarin crimson. Now, what's the difference? I don't know if we'll be able to tell. I'm going to grab some clean white, and you can see it's just, hopefully you can see this, is a little bit of a rosy pink rather than peachy pink. I hope that makes sense. So this is just something that we might use in a little bit. Now, on top of that, I've got some of this really dark value of turquoise. I'm going to wipe my brush off again. I'm going to grab some turquoise. This is the weird one, you guys. Turquoise and some of that red alizarin crimson. And I've got a really dark. Okay. Turquoise that's almost black. In fact, I could use it for black. I don't really need that black. Look at how dark that is. So I could use that for the pupils in the eye, or I can choose to come down and use a black down here. I'm going to see what color that is, turquoise and alizarin crimson, when I add just some clean. And this is going to blow your mind. Okay. This gives me a violet color that is just yummy. Violet color, turquoise, phthalo turquoise, and alizarin crimson will give me this beautiful violet color. Depending on how much white I add to it, it's going to be kind of, it'll be more and more interesting as we go. But let's just see what happens if I add a little more white over here. So I'm going to give a little bit like a three tonal values. I got to clip that and try it again. Enough white to change the tone because it's very strong. Phthalo turquoise and alizarin crimson are really super strong. I think I just clipped another alizarin crimson on there, so I'm going to have to keep working it. Okay, well, you get the idea there. Let me just keep going here. I'm going to put a little more so we can get lighter and lighter. Lighter. I want to have something light to work with. Oh, this is going to be fun. My little cat, Julius. Julius is at the door meowing. He wants some food. Does anybody mind if I let him in? Okay, I hope he doesn't mess up our event. You're going to, you know what you're going to hear in the background? Crunch, crunch, crunch. I'll be right back. I'm going to do that. Hang on. Julius, what are you doing? Come in. That's what happens when you have a studio cat. That's right. Hope I don't step on him. Oh, he's going to bump the camera. No. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's going to be fun. All right. Well, bear with me. So, okay, so now I've got these kind of a little bit of this cool thing, but I also want to make sure that my violet color, and I'm going to do it one more time, so turquoise with alizarin crimson. I don't want to make it to the point where it's not, so it doesn't look like, it doesn't look like anything that's human. I want to make sure it has some sort of a skin tone property. So what if I warmed that up just a tad, or muted it down with a little bit of this cadmium orange? Let's play around with that a little bit. Okay, so this gives me a really deep, really deep shadow tone. Really deep shadow tone. So if I'm doing, I need some shadows, but I don't need them quite that dark for the baby. But if I need a darker shadow tone for, say, Hispanic, Indian, or any other race, African American, I might use that, and I could even make another variation by adding a beautiful red. And I know you can't quite see all these variations, but so turquoise and alizarin crimson, and then adding some of my oranges and reds to it will create rich dark tones that I can use for either shadows on a Caucasian face, or I can use them for the darker skin tones of African American or Indian, or whatever other races that we want to kind of attempt. So I got to admit something. I did a Chinese fellow who was knighted by, he was from Hong Kong, and he was knighted by the Queen of England. No kidding. I was working on this, and this lady was a really highfalutin store owner in Pasadena years ago. And I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I had not really painted that many portraits in my life. All of a sudden, this lady, she would kept coming, and she'd say, no, we are not pink, we are yellow. And I had to keep looking, and I'd look at the painting and realize that I kept painting it with my own skin tones. And I realized that that was not how she saw it, and it's definitely, and I found, you know what, I gotta admit, I finally gave up. I just couldn't do it right. So we need to be aware that there are definitely some different skin tones going on around the world. And when you're doing portraits, you better know what they are. All right. Now, okay, so that's a really good base for what we need to do. What would happen, let's just see what would happen if I added a little bit of white to this particular mixture. Okay. So now I've got this kind of muted purple. Now I can add a tiny bit more orange to it if I want to make it a little bit glowy. And then I can just play with that a little bit here and there, and I can mute it down, I can fix it up, I can pink it up, I can do, if I want to do a little bit, I can just work it back and give myself a variety of tonal values. I'm going to take this back a notch with the turquoise. I can go backwards like this, and I can push it around and make this gray tone. It's kind of a gray purple. But I think that's probably enough to work with, don't you? Yeah. Okay. Now, what have I got in my tin today? Inside my little cat tin is a medium called Neo-Megilp. Now you can use liquid, you can use all kinds of different mediums if you like. This one I really like. I've been using it for a long time. I used to use another one called Galkide. I still use that from time to time. This one's a gel, and it's just kind of like a really loose kind of Vaseline. I don't know if you can use Vaseline, probably not a good idea. But this one is really a nice one. It, what does it say? It maintains a body of oil colors, but it increases the transparency and the flow of the paint. So, you know how sometimes you get a paint that's too dry and it just goes, Well, you don't want that to happen when you're painting a portrait. No, you don't. It's really fun. Now, when I'm going to get a clean paper towel, and then I'm going to get a kind of a wider, what size is this one? This is one of my dad's. This is actually it says it's a flat, but I think it's been kind of worn down by my dad. And it's a size 8. and it's a bristle brush. It doesn't really matter if it's a bristle brush or not, but it's just one of those things. So I'm going to go with a little bit of my gel, and I'm going to show you something kind of crazy. I'm taking my colors over here, and I'm going to take, let's see, a little bit of, I want to make sure this is nice and clear a little bit, so I want to, and white, of course, you guys, is very opaque. So the more white you put into your painting, into your paints, the more opaque or the less you're going to be able to see through it. But I want to start it out by just really putting on a nice slick, doesn't that, I mean, look at this. It's dry underneath, all right? This was made with gesso and, in essence, charcoal or graphite, okay? And then it's dried. And so instantly, I have this marvelous option of being able to put on a nice glaze of this pretty color, and I hope you can see it, of about the number 2 on our level, which is the cadmium red light mixed with the yellow ochre, mixed with just the slightest amount of white, so that I don't cover up the features. I won't cover them up because they are nice, they're underneath there, and they're dry. Guess what? If I make a mistake and I don't like it, the only thing I have to do is take a rag, put a little bit of thinner, and wipe it off. Now, one question that pops up is, what are you painting on? Is that a canvas? Is it a linen canvas? No, this time I'm working on a masonite panel, one of my very favorite things to paint on. I put a layer of gesso, 1 or 2 layers of gesso on there, and then I do the drawing, and then I do, you know, I let it dry. And then I do it with gesso and charcoal, and then I let it dry, and then we do this part. That's where we're at. So this one, it's so smooth and so nice, and a lot of the major players, you guys, a lot of them are now using masonite panels. They've been using wood panels and that sort of thing for hundreds of years, and it keeps the paint stable. It doesn't crack because it isn't flexible, all right? When you move paintings from museum to museum, they always have that kind of, you know, that terror of, uh-oh, if that canvas starts flexing, it can actually just crack and have to be repaired. So this is a much better option. Now I can come in here and kind of wipe off the highlights. I'm going to pull this baby out, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to wipe off the highlights just like we did on the last little baby that we did. And I just love this technique. It's just so fun. You could almost just sign it and, you know, well, maybe not. Okay. Not quite done. So then we go like this, and we put in all, you know, you can just get the highlights established if we want. And to remind you that this paint is really thin to start with. We work from thin to thick, thin to thick. And then I'm going to come in with my other, I have another little brush here. I'm going to, oops, I've got too many things going on here. Got to be able to juggle here. I'm not going to use a super small brush right now, everybody. This one is still a pretty good size one. This is a size 6 Royal Filbert. You want to use filberts when you're doing portraits. It's just part of the thing. So we're going to come in, and I'm going to begin by grabbing a little bit of my darker tones down here, and that's in a very, I've got my little paper towels here. I test it out and I say, okay, that's really super warm. So now I want to cool it down. I'm going to come back up into some of my greens, and we're going to look at that. I can match that color pretty close and work that in just a little bit. I won't leave it quite that dark, but I'll kind of come in and do a little bit of this. I want to come into the nostril area, and I like this color for that. It's got a little bit of red, a little bit of green. And then I'm going to bring, let's see, I'll just see where I can see some of the darker tones just a little bit. Again, the thing that's going to make this face look so good and so three-dimensional is that there's going to be a dark color on this side of the face and a light color on this side of the face. This is the dark side of the face, so I'm going to light it up a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of a shadow right there. And I'll pull some of this off because it's pretty strong. Remember, when you're doing babies, you don't want to get too carried away with lines and dark, you know, really crazy things. You want to make it nice and delicate. And so now that's my darkest dark that I think I'm going to go with on the face. And then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to find that light right there. And I'm going to figure out where my lightest light is going to roll. And so I'm going to come up, well, let's just get into this yellow ochre with white. And then we're going to put in some right here. Okay, so I'm going to put that in, and then I'm going to merge that a little bit together. Yellow ochre with white. I know that one, you can barely see the difference, but trust me, it's there. And then I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab a little more white, and we're going to put in this nice, so you can see what the difference is. Now, when you first start out on this gesso, sometimes it is so dry that it makes it a little bit tough to get going on it. But once you get the paint on, it really does work really well. There's a little thing right here, a little chin, a little bit of a little thing there, a little bit there. And then, so we've got the lightest light is going to hit where the light is in line with the, what's called the apex, in line with the light, which means whatever sticks out farthest in line with the light is going to hit with the highest highlight. Does that make sense? Sometimes it's what's under as well. So I've got that going on. All right, now it's starting to look a little more three-dimensional as we go. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to exaggerate. I'm going to take some of these really rosy pinks. I might not see this in this baby, but on this picture, I'm going to put it in anyway because it's effective. So now I'm going to come over here, and I'm really going to rosy it up, okay? I see it often. The ears are really rosy, so I'm going to put that in. And then I'm going to put a little rose there. I want to put in some on the nose because that's sticking out forward, and it's a very hot spot. And then some on the chin. So the cheeks and the nose, and usually kind of around up here in the eyebrow a little bit. The forehead may have a little bit. Where I don't want to put the worm is above the lip. On the lip, yeah, I do. I want to have that nice and warm, but I want to remember that the upper lip is, and I've got this huge brush, is darker than the lower lip. But his is also pretty tucked in, so it might not be quite as pronounced. So I've got this little thing, and I'll get in here with a little bit more concentration here in a bit. But I'm going to come over here. We've got that pink, and instantly that baby starts coming to life. It really does. And so isn't that fun? So what do we, I think of what is fun is when you do the black and white thing ahead of time, you eliminate all that kind of nervousness about the nervousness when it comes to, ooh, have I got the drawing right? So you're not having to orchestrate the entire thing where you're doing the drawing, the painting, the color, the tone, the shape, the tone, and the color all at one time. You don't want to have to do the shape and the color all at one time because it's just too many things to juggle. Okay, now the next thing I want to do, I'm going to get some more of this Neo Megilp on my brush. I'm going to shoot for a little bit of this cooler purple. You see a little bit of that color right here where the eye goes in. Now babies don't, their eyes aren't sunk way back in, but they are in a little bit. You know, babies' faces are often quite a bit flatter because they don't, well, they just need to be flat in order to nurse. Yeah, they just do. If they had big old honking noses, they wouldn't be able to get in there and nuzzle their mommy. Hope that doesn't shock any of you, but yes, that's what babies do. And then I'm going to come in, this area right here, everybody, is super important. The thing that will make this baby look like who he is this area right here, this little muscle, right on the corner of the mouth. And as we get older, of course, we get more pronounced area right there and we get wrinkles. So I don't want to overemphasize that because I don't want him looking like Benjamin Button in the first part of the movie. If you get a chance, watch that one. That's a weird one. I watched that one last week. I don't normally spend any time watching movies, but I had to watch that one again. It was so much fun. So he ages backwards, if you're wondering. He starts out as a wrinkly old man baby, and then he goes backwards. It's pretty fun. Pretty interesting concept. Okay, and I'm going to come in around the little nose right here. There's a little shadow because the light's coming from here, and even though his little nose is very, very, very small, it is also in shadow on this one side of his nose. Not too much, just a little bit. And as babies age, or as people age, that begins to, change a little bit as we go. Okay, now up here, I want to put a little bit more of a yellow tone, so I'm going to come in here with our yellow. I'm also going to just punch it up just a little bit darker there. Okay, so that's more like yellow ochre by itself a little bit on this side of the face. Yellow ochre and in a darker tone, and then in the inside. I'm not going to focus on making the ears super detailed. We don't need to make them detailed. It's not important. It's not important. So what needs to be important? Anybody want to answer that? The eyeballs. The eyeballs are going to have to be important. Now here's another fun one. I will come in with some white and just a touch of teal, or that turquoise, which makes a teal. And I'm going to mix in tons and tons and tons of white. So basically it's a white that's toned. I've added a new skin tone here. Toned with a little bit of teal. It's a cool white. So white with a touch of teal. Teal is the strongest color. It's one that your cat steps in and then walks all over your white carpet. I don't have white carpet, but if I did, that would be right where he would step. Oh, and he also likes magenta. He was wearing magenta under his chin for 4 weeks. That was fun. So now I have this warm thing, but now I've got this cool light of teal, and I'm going to put that up here in this highlight, and also this muscle that comes across there, a little bit of teal in the highest highlights right there, and I need a little bit of Neo Megilp, and then I'm going to find it right here. The shape goes this way, and it goes this way. All right, so don't forget, it's not just painting a wall. You're going to think about now beginning to, I've got one more section that needs a little bit of that white right there, this tealy white, a little tealy white there. And then I'm going to then wipe off my brush, and then I'm going to come in and begin to fuse the edges of these little shapes that I put down with the shape next to it. Okay, you can't do this unless you have paint to fuse into. You know what I mean? You can't just say, oh, I'm going to put this color down, like paint by number, and then go to this color, go to this color. No, you have to have 2 colors, and then you take the edge of where that color is, so we don't lose any of that wonderful pink, but we just merge it a little bit with this beautiful soft brush. Thank you, Dad. And I'm going to come in and merge the edges and calm it down a little bit, but not just, you don't want to, what we call in our class, pet the raccoon. It's usually pet the dog, but we were painting raccoons the other day. Hi, Craig, from my class. We don't want to keep just petting it until it all disappears. If you hit it more than a few times, you're going to lose what you put down, all right? Meow, meow, meow. You're making it really entertaining, Julius. Julius. I forgot to do this part on the nose to make it round. There. Yeah. You want to say hi? Okay, hang on, everybody. Hold on. Come here. This is Julius. He wanted to say hi. Can you say hi, Julius? Say meow. Yeah? Okay. Good, good. Joy of kids and pets. I can't say that that's the first time that's ever happened. We had Billy Jack in one video, and he passed away this last year, and so we got this crazy guy, and he's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. He's a climber, boy. He climbs trees. Oh my goodness. Chases deer. We had all kinds of deer in the backyard. He likes them. One day he got licked by a big deer in the backyard. I turned around and here this deer was, and his whole backside was just covered with deer slobber. That was fun. Yesterday I got back out in the yard, and there was a big, huge buck. And so I followed it around the yard and took pictures of it. I'll just show that to you. I'll show that to you. Yes, I will. Okay, now back in here, I've got this warm color now. I'm going to merge the edge. If I could teach you one thing, it would be about not merging the entire thing together, but taking the elements besides. Look how loose and beautiful that is. Isn't it just quite something? I just think that's how you do it. You just take this beautiful, man, what is this brush? I don't even know what it is. It's it's called a Royal, number 6 Royal something, soft grip. Oh, it's a soft grip. And I've never used this brush before. I think it's my new favorite. I like it a lot. Okay. Brushes do have, sometimes people say, oh, what's the brush? And it really shouldn't matter. Well, it does. Brushes are important. You don't want to have, there are some cheaper brushes, less expensive brushes that are good. And so don't get me wrong there. It isn't the cost, but it is the brush. Make sure you find one that works really well for you. They do make a difference, I have learned. Inheriting all of my father's materials. Shout out to my stepmother, who's coming up on 1 year. Hi, Carol. She's a doll. She's such a blessing, and she's gone through so much losing my dad, and so these are his materials. This is his big, beautiful easel that he built by his own hands, and I'm so grateful to have it in my studio, and I've enjoyed it so much in the last little bit. But it's been almost a year. Just in a couple of days, it will have been an entire year since my father passed away. And time, they always say time heals, but really, when you are that connected to somebody, as my stepmother was to my father, time doesn't heal very fast. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Boy, we get that. All right. And this week, my husband's mother passed away. Wow. That's been quite a week. Anyway, I'm going to now come in, and in the inside of the eye, I'm going to come in with my black, I really am going to use black, the ivory black, and we're going to come in and put in the pupil right here. This will bring it right to life. And you hope to make it the same size. That would be nice. Okay. And the baby's eyes are a blue color. And so I'm going to use turquoise because I forgot to set out the regular blue. That was smart. Okay, and I'm going to take turquoise around the outside edge. The younger the person is, the more likely they're going to have a ring around the eye. The older we get, the more faded out this ring gets. And so if you're painting a really old person and you want them to look really old, you leave out, you leave out this ring around the eye. Like that. Okay, that's looking a little bit off, but it's because I'm standing a whole 1.5 feet over to the side. Okay. How many times have you heard me say that? If you've been with me a long time, I say that a lot. I'm like, I'm over to the side. Normally, if I were painting this, I would be over here. Okay, that's true. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to come in with a tiny bit of white into what's on my brush. And the light is coming from over here down to here. So the light is going to come out. It's going to shoot through the eye, and it's going to shoot through right there. It's going to be light on this side. And I'm using the width of the brush to kind of measure the width of the cornea. And then I'm going to take a dot of white. I've got this in the wrong position. Wait a sec. I want to go back in. I'm going to fill this in because the highlight's in the wrong spot. Way to go. Way to go, Nettie. Okay. So this one's a little bit off, but I'll fix that later. And I'm going to now wipe my brush out, get my brush, and get a nice big chunk of paint on the end of it. And then I'm going to go between the pupil and where the color is. I'm going to lob a tiny little white dot at about 10 o'clock. What do I mean by that? I mean, if the eyeball was a clock, it would be at the 10 o'clock mark. Okay, and generally I will put, if the light's coming from the opposite direction, I'll put a white dot on the opposite side. The main thing that you don't want to do, even with dogs I don't do this as much. I don't want to put a highlight on one side on one eye and on the other side on the other eye, because then the eyes will look crossed. Oh man, you don't want that. No, you don't. Even if they are crossed a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to come up back in here with my kind of interesting little brown that I created with the orange, the turquoise, and the purple. And I'm going to very delicately, very delicately, kind of give the indication. I don't want Groucho Marx here. I want the indication of a brow, almost a brow bone, not so much a big old bushy eyebrow. I want a brow bone, and so I'm going to muddle that in with just a little bit of the paint that's already on there. And then I'm going to get a little more of this, and I'm going to come in with the redder, a little bit of redder in our darks. And I use my fingernail for my maul stick here. I'm going to come in, and I don't want to make black holes in the nostril. You don't want to use black. Alright, if you use black, you have a hole in the head, and this is a really warm spot down here, you know? It's a warm spot. And guess what? The nostrils are not round. They're not like a big donut hole. Your nostrils on the outside are not the donut with the donut hole in the middle. No, they're not. Okay, so what are they? Well, they're kind of like little pollywogs, really. They have this shape on this side. It's like this. It's like, oh, I hope you can see this. It's like this. Okay, not a big round hole in it like that, you know, or like whatever. I'm gonna wreck this painting for you. Not a big dark round hole. It's a different shape, and it really depends on the angle of the photo as well. The more you turn your face or down, up and down, you're gonna see less of it or more of it. And so even this is a bit much, but not too bad, not too bad. I'll come back in and probably modify that just a little bit later on. And so when I'm doing the nose part, okay, on this part, I know that in order for this nose to turn under, it has to be dark underneath. And then I have a little shadow on that side of the nose. And then there's this little thing down here called a philtrum. A what? And it's a philtrum, and it's extremely light. If you make it really dark, you make it look kind of like one of those little Hitler mustaches. We don't want to do that. And the darker it is, the older the person looks. So I'm going to come in with a very I want a little bit darker than that. I want to do slightly teal and purple, and I want to make it just, I'm exaggerating it just a little bit. The thing is that now, see, it looks too dark, and so now I'm going to come in on the side where the light's hitting. It's going to hit on this side of it. It's going to hit on that side of it like that. And then it's going to come down in a V over the lip like that. I think I'm really off center, but that's because I'm over here. So, and then I'm going to come up, and I'm using teals and I'm using yellows. I'm not using pinks. Okay. So there's this little muscle that comes in right there over the lip before the lip comes in. You don't attach the lip the actual lip to the philtrum. The philtrum doesn't come all the way down and split the lip, unless you're a cat, okay? Just saying. I don't know how many of us are cats. But now I'm gonna start kind of forming that in just a little bit so that it's not quite so crazy. But it's kind of in a cool tone. That's a cool tone. I'm gonna pull a little bit of that cool right there into the nose. And then I'm also going to take a little bit of the light as it comes and hits that side of the nose right there. That mouth is almost disappearing, isn't it? Woo! I better put him back in there. I'm going to come down and shape the lip like this, as I'm seeing its shape slightly different. And I'm going to come in like this. And now I'm going to find the parting line between the lips just a little bit. And I want to make sure it's not in a really black color. It's just kind of a dark, one of these dark browns that we've got up here that are really nice. And I'm going to reshape the lip. I'm going to find that parting line of the lip like this. I think it's slightly lower than that. And bring it down. No laughing if it's off center, because I know it's going to be. I know it's going to be. So there is that, and then I'm going to put this shadow in again down here. And then we're going to put the lip in just a little bit better. So I'm going to get a little darker one of these peach. Lip color, everybody, is a muted down color of the flesh tone. Or it's a little bit, it can be darker than the flesh tone, but you don't want to make it lipstick. So you want to have it slightly grayed, just slightly grayed color, but not too gray, because you don't want them to look like they're not breathing. And then I'm putting the little lip on the top. It's so cute. And then I'm going to put the bottom lip. Now generally, the bottom lip has more light on it because it sticks out more. And then the top lip is darker. So I probably said that already. And then I'm going to put in just a little bit more, just because I want it. If you're not doing a portrait, you can do whatever you want. If it's not have to be right. Well, we do want it to be right. I also want to give that pink into the nose just a little bit more. And I'm gonna pull down that highlight just a tad. Yeah, just playing around. I'm going to also, while I can see it, I'm going to take this and shape the ear just a tiny bit. The ear is a funny thing. It has kind of a question mark on it right here. Got a little question mark right there. And you don't need much more than that. Fill it in. I do want to have it nice and hot though. So now I'm going to take some of that bright pink and kind of lay that in a little bit. And you can get into it, but if you get really into the details of the ear, sometimes it will look like an ear with a baby hanging off of it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, there's a painting of an ear with a baby hanging off of it. Okay, that's a little weird. See how nice and loose that is? Okay, well, how do I make this really pop out? I'm going to do one last thing. And I want to come in, because this is the light side of the face, as I was saying, and that's the dark side of the face. So I'm going to come in with my light white, and I'm going to put in some white paint, and I'm going to come in and shape out using the negative space or negative shape around the face, and I'm going to use a white to begin with. You don't have to use a white, but I want to make sure it's nice and light. So I start out with the white, and then I'm going to work paint into it. You know, I don't use a lot of black and white and all that kind of stuff. I just use, but because I want this to have a light value, I'm going to start with white on the canvas. You can see how that face automatically just starts coming out like that. And then I'm just going to go up, up, up and shape the head. I'm not drawing a line around it. I'm just kind of creating this airy atmosphere around the baby's head. And I'm just going to, before I run out of time, I'm going to take a little bit of our dark value here, and I'm going to put a little bit of red. I'm going to make it dark on this side, and so that the light part of the face stands out. And I think we are just about out of time right now. And then I'm going to merge this together like this. I'm going to come across, and I'm going to add some, just various different colors, but I'm going to kind of come together like that. And then I will add a little bit of yellow and some light and some little different colors as I kind of come in here. But I'm just going to, look how that face just instantly sets off like that. Okay, everybody, I think we are out of time. I do hope you guys will join me next time. I'm not sure how it's going to work next Thursday, but we're going to give it our best to see if we can do another video from Spokane, Washington. Oh my gosh, I hope I can do it. Wouldn't that be fun? It should be a good time for everyone. Yeah. So, love you guys. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends. And let's get that number up for our viewers up to 4,000 hours. We're at 2,800 hours and some. And we're trying to move it up to 4,000 hours. So make sure you share it with your friends and go and watch another video all the way through from the beginning to the end. Okay? All right. Love you guys. See you later. Bye-bye for now.